Welcome back. This is
I'm not being welcome back, and this is my first time.
yeah, but you're being welcomed back into my life. Like I saw you a month ago.
I left out of your life, and
And
I'm
you're
being
back.
welcomed back into it.
Yeah, you're back in my
Okay.
life.
I didn't know that I was not in it, but okay. So nice to be back.
Did you miss me?
So much.
I feel like, yeah, well, you were like in my life and then we won't talk for a week and then you're out of my life for that week and then you're back.
I'm very
in.
intensely in it,
Yeah, you're really in it.
but then out.
And then out.
Hmm.
Kind of like
Your dad.
My dad, yeah. Which brings us to how do you want to be introduced? Do you use Claire Stollery or do you use Claire Cavalheiro?
Claire Stollery is my spy name, so it's mostly Cavalheiro.
Mostly Cavalheiro.
Now you've outed me though. What is that called again?
What
Not when you
whistleblowing?
No, when you let the person know that they've been caught.
I don't know. I don't play video games like you.
No, like
What?
watching spy shit.
I don't really watch spy. Do you watch spy stuff?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, we shouldn't be friends. But anyway, okay, go on.
Well, I guess
since
you're
can't
gonna
remember
go
what it's
out of my
called.
life. Well, it was just an introduction, but you just showed us the kind of genres you like to watch.
Yeah,
I guess you do like spy stuff.
I really do.
Anyways,
Okay.
This is Claire Cavalheiro,
Hello.
and she's a comedian.
Now I'm like nervous. Like, am I supposed to be looking at you
You can look wherever you
or
want.
the camera?
Well, you can look at the camera. You can look at me.
I feel this is
I
a
feel
lot of
like-
pressure. I just want you to know that I've never been on anyone's
You never
podcast.
been on a podcast?
No, there's an asterisk. I've never been on a podcast that people listen to. And so usually there's no pressure because you're like, literally no one is going to listen to this
I
at
guess.
all except
Yeah.
this one guy, maybe in his basement. But that's it. Like now I feel a lot of pressure to like not be canceled.
I don't think you'll be canceled. I don't think you did anything.
That's
to
not
be canceled.
well, we don't even know yet. There could
It's
be.
true. You could be canceled. Claire is somebody that I was like, you need to be on my podcast because you have probably the most interesting family
Offensive?
story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yet I was like, you should be the one doing this podcast, not me, really.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So normally we talk about dads, which Claire has a dad story.
Multiple dads.
Multiple dads. But we're going to
But
talk
not
about
gay
our mom,
dads.
not gay dads. Yeah. We're going to talk about your mom because I wanted to do my first I'm going into how parents fuck you up, you know.
Okay.
That's-
What was the first part?
No, don't go, Thor. No, you can't. Oh. Okay.
Thor hates
well,
us.
the first part was my podcast with my dad, which is what this is, where I was teaching him how to be a father. And then my dad, but I think that he just didn't like, it was very triggering.
It was a lot of fathering for him.
It was a lot of commitment.
To be fair, you are a lot. So, like, I don't blame him for just getting the F out of there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, your dad was smart enough to get out of there before he even met you.
Oh,
you know?
a hundo P. Wouldn't you leave? Like, I know I would.
He saw you and he was like, "Oof, this one's gonna be rough." And then he pieced out. You chased him down.
You got to. Why would you raise the kids that you have?
It's he said, like, he didn't get. Okay, this is my favorite thing about your dad. Well, we can't get too much into your dad. I'm gonna just ow, it pinched. We're not gonna get too much into your dad because I want to talk about your mom because that's, you're my first mother story because your mom is epic.
Well, no one has talked about their moms.
No one has talked about their moms. You are leading the way.
But, like, do they want to talk about their moms?
Yes,
and you're just
but
like, lock it up.
No. I just always brought people that had daddy issues on.
Okay.
But I do think it needs to be, my friend was like, I want to hear about all the parents. And your daddy issue stuff is really good, but your mom is even better. So before we go on to your mom and we keep alluding to your dad, just give a little quick rundown of your dad sitch because we're going to record another episode later.
Oh, everyone's on the edge of their seats.
It's really good.
If anyone is still listening, because
Fuck
I
you.
would have stopped 10 minutes ago.
All right. You know what?
But anyway, okay. You want like Cole's notes?
Cole's notes as to
Cole's
what we're
notes.
talking about.
Okay, so basically, my mom met a guy. I'm from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
My mom went skiing in the States, in California, your native land.
Yeah, well, I'm
sort
from
of.
Canada too, so
Well,
that's, yeah.
you know.
Do you know what native means? Or
Whoa. We just got so political. So she went down to ski in California, met a guy on the ski shuttle.
wait, the
as
ski.
you do.
Okay.
And I
The
don't know.
shuttle
The
to the
shuttle.
mountain.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You know, she was a hot babe.
All right.
She's got big
boobs.
jugs.
All right.
They're in those
Sick.
80s, you know, really tight ski suits that
yeah.
are onesies.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you look away?
You can't.
Blue eyeliner,
Ooh.
like just
Okay.
the whole package. Looks like a vision. And so he was like, "What's up? Let's get together." And she was like, "Yeah,
Okay.
I'm into it." He had a sweet Tom Selleck mustache.
Oh.
Two became one. And then maybe I was conceived on this hill. We're not sure.
No
but shortly
way.
after, he was like, "Hey, I'll come see you in, you know, Calgary."
Okay.
So he went to Canada to visit
Small
her.
town. Yeah.
And then, you know, maybe saw her true colors and was like, you know what? I can't handle this. I got to get the hell out. And then she was like, "What's up? I'm pregnant."
Okay.
So it was a very short fling. And he was like, "Oh, yeah, that's not what I wanted to hear." And then, you know, then she was a single mom.
Yeah.
I came out.
Uh-huh.
Obviously a beautiful baby.
Really hot.
As such a hot baby. And then obviously because I was so hot, my mom picked up my dad who raised me because I was a hot baby.
Okay.
And he was like, "Normally I don't date people who have babies, but your baby's so hot, I will totally date you." And so I was 6 months old when they met. I came on their first date.
No.
Yeah, girl. What's
Goo
up?
goo gaga.
I am a good wingman.
Yeah.
Just out of the gate.
He's
a
like,
good
this bitch
wingman.
must not be crazy because she has a baby that's hot.
On her date.
Yeah.
Like, that's not weird.
That's not crazy.
So, you know, whatever. Red flags were not listened to. And then, you know, if I met him at 6 months, I don't know, when do babies talk? Like, you know,
I don't know.
soon after, I think. And so then I just started calling him dad. And then he was like, "Well, I guess I'm in."
He's like, oopsies.
I cannot get out of this. So then he had to stay. And then they had 2 daughters.
Yeah.
He was divorced with 4 other older daughters.
Okay.
So then when you add me, there's 7 of us.
It's a lot of girls.
But I was the only one who didn't have the same dad. So there's 7 of us, but, you know, only one with different daddy.
Black sheep.
I'm like, he wasn't black, Nicole. I wish he was black. I'd probably be way hotter.
Wait, no, you wouldn't because you didn't come from him.
No, my dad.
Oh, I thought you were saying you wish that the dad that raised you was
You're
black.
like, obviously you wouldn't be hotter because, anyway, whatever.
You didn't come. Okay.
All right. Anyway, but I will say my mom did a lot of stuff that was not right.
Like what?
But I do find the thing that she did do right, which I think I would do, which you'll never find me say that about my mom, is that ever since I was little, she was like, "Hey, this is not your dad. This is not your real dad. He lives in California. You know, this, maybe controversial." She was like, "He didn't want kids."
That's what she said to you at a young age?
Yeah, when I was like 3.
He didn't
want kids. And so, you know, he's not part of our lives. And so, yeah, but this is your dad that's raising you. But your other dad just didn't want kids. And as a 3-year-old, I was like, that's so stupid. Yeah. Like, if he had sex and he didn't want kids, then, like, why would you have sex? That's how you make babies.
You're like, why do people have sex?
Yeah,
Mom?
I was like, he had sex. How did he not know he was going to have a kid?
Yeah.
And my mom was like, "I don't know." Let's not talk about that, Claire. So I was like, this guy sounds real stupid. So yeah, that's my
And
story.
then unfortunately the dad that raised you passed away.
Like not right away.
I know, but just to give a
Oh,
quick
yeah.
rundown, and when he did, because we'll get into that story on another episode, and then when he did, you went and found your blood dad.
No,
Oh.
actually, so my dad passed away who raised me when I was 25.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually searched for my biological father when I was 21.
Oh.
So he was still alive. And I told him, I was like, hey, listen, I'm going to try to, find him. And he was totally cool with it.
Yeah.
He was nice about it.
That's great. And then now now you talk to your biological dad, but your biological dad, that's a whole other episode. So that's her complicated. I can introduce you as a comedian because I still want you to do stand up, but Claire's also an amazing writer.
So amazing.
Really amazing, and actress. Okay. So that's why we're looking at the camera, because she knows how to perform. All right. She's used to talking to a screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that's your dad's side, sure. Yeah, her dog's looking at us.
Yeah, my dog is not happy that we're not
paying attention
to him. Should I go get Scott and get him to take him?
What does he want to do?
He wants us to like play with him.
No, it's okay. It's kind of funny that he's staring at us.
Thor, no.
It's really funny. Thor, come here. Thor, come
here. Scott.
I think it's.
Can you get Thor? He's just like
being
really annoying.
Staring at us.
What?
It's on you.
Why?
Why is that on
Why
you?
is it on me? Why? What are you doing? Are you going poop?
All right, we're just gonna have to deal with it. Okay,
we're dealing with it.
that's well, people say that you marry men like your dad, and he's not taking responsibility for the dog, just like your blood dad didn't take responsibility for you.
Apple really marries the tree.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay,
anyway,
so we'll get into that another episode. Claire's here because her mom is a narcissist. And
have you guys talked about narcissists on the podcast yet?
No, we have not.
Have you not?
No.
Wow.
Walk us through.
Didn't you say you have like 60 episodes and you haven't talked about narcissists?
Yeah, but like 50 of them is me and my dad.
Oh, okay.
You're like probably the 7th guest.
Okay.
Maybe like a little bit about narcissists, but not as much as you can tell us. Like, I don't even think I should talk for the rest of the podcast.
No.
I think that you should go through your mom.
It is all about me.
It is.
I am my mother's child. Well, okay. I will say that a couple of years ago, my mom got diagnosed by what is the one that I always forget which one diagnoses people? Is that psychologist? No.
Psychiatrist. Yeah.
That she was high spectrum, high level narcissist, personality disorder. And I do feel like the word is really thrown out a lot lately in our society. And so like everyone's a narcissist, and everyone, especially with social media, everyone gets called a narcissist. But I think the distinction is that narcissist personality disorder is an actual personality disorder that is actually really serious. And the thing about narcissists is that there's a lot of research on them, but the issue is that part of their, I guess, personality disorder is that they never think anything's wrong with them, and therefore they won't seek help. So it is hard to get a lot of data on them. But I will say over the last couple of years, I've read so many books about it, and it actually, if anyone does have a narcissistic parent or someone that you think might be, it's so healing to read about it. Like, even though I know a lot about it already, sometimes it's just nice to reread stuff, because it really validates your experiences that you had, especially as a child, when everyone in my life, especially my mom, was telling me that like everything was normal.
And,
And especially as a kid, you don't know what's normal and what's not. You just kind of assume whatever's happening to you is normal.
Yeah.
Which is part of like why kids are so resilient. But like, you know, my mom technically married my dad who raised me when I was 5 and I was the flower girl.
Okay.
And so I just thought, because he's my dad already, obviously they're married, because like why wouldn't they be?
Yeah.
They're my parents. And so I just thought for years that everybody always gets married twice, when really they weren't married before that. They got married when I was 5.
Okay.
And so I just find it's so interesting with kids, because you just
made that a
assume
reality.
everything is normal. Or like when
Yeah.
my mom was like, hey, you know, this isn't your real dad. Your other dad doesn't want kids. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's normal.
Yeah,
That
what
was
up?
yeah.
What up, lady? I get it. Totally get it.
That's yeah.
Real
it's,
talk.
It's the same with like my dad. You don't know. Yeah, when my dad
You have
wasn't
no
around
idea.
that much, you're just
Your
like,
mom's
oh,
like,
this is my
hey,
reality.
your dad is a slutty drummer and he's not coming back. And you're like, yeah, okay.
That's cool.
What up?
He's a whatever. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. And then when your mom is like, hey, can I sleep in the same hotel room as you and your fiance? You're like, that's normal.
Yeah, sometimes you do need
That happened to
partner.
that happened to Claire. Yeah.
That's true. You need, sometimes it's helpful, especially with, I think, such, you know, parents.
Your partner opens
You
your eyes.
need a partner or someone close to you who is a third party to be like, hey, this isn't normal. This isn't how other people or other relationships operate.
Yeah.
Or this isn't healthy.
Yeah. So, okay. So Claire doesn't talk to her mom right now.
That is true.
Do you have a restraining order still?
I wish. How do I explain it? So I stopped talking to her in January 2016.
Okay.
And I say no contact, but I guess I have no relationship and I try to be no contact, but it's tough because everybody else in my family still has a relationship with her or still talks to her. Maybe not like a good relationship, but you know, they still try to talk to her. So it's tough because although I am no contact, I do have to see her at certain family events, which is really tough. And I'm still trying to figure out how to, I don't know, deal with that and deal with people who still have a relationship with her, but I don't, but we see her at Christmas or we don't go, or, you know, it's tough. And it's like, do we tell people we're not coming if she's there?
Yeah.
Or we've tried to be really good about it and not involve other people, but innately people get upset. She gets upset. Other people get upset.
So can you take us back to the crazy things she did when you were young, when you realized it? Like, take us through your history and then when you realized it and what made you cut her off.
Oh man,
I know.
I don't know.
So
You're like,
stories.
hey, can you stop 30?
No.
5 years.
You tell us the stories. Like Claire's told me stories that I've been like, what? So
I don't know.
Well, okay, you don't have to.
Okay, yeah. Can you think of anything?
Let's like start at when you started to realize that she might be a narcissist or something might be wrong. Like, what was an event that happened?
I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint because, okay, so one of the things about narcissists is like if they have multiple, not siblings, what is it? Children.
Okay.
If they have multiple children, they treat all of them differently. And then they also will pit them against each other, called triangulation. And so, and they can switch roles. The children can switch roles, but sometimes certain children are assigned certain roles.
Whoa.
I would say, so there's the scapegoat, which definitely is what I was. And then there's the golden child who can like do no wrong. And like, but I would say my mom did a lot of those different ones and kind of, you know, we were all different roles throughout the years. But I definitely was the scapegoat, and the scapegoat child is usually the one that's like, hey guys, like this is not right. Something's wrong here.
Okay.
And then because the parent gets a lot of resistance from that child, they're the ones that often get treated the worst.
Okay.
That was definitely me. Sorry, I'm so popular. That's my phone. It's my mom.
She's like,
Claire, she gets sense when I'm talking about her for sure. Um, so I definitely got the worst of it, I think, of all my siblings. I was also the oldest of my mom's kids.
Yeah.
You know, my other siblings, though, that's not their mom. So and we didn't like live together. The older girls didn't live with us. So I was her oldest. So I my job, I felt, was to protect my younger siblings from her. Whereas, no one was doing that for me.
Yeah.
And as the scapegoat who was getting the worst of it, it was super isolating and traumatizing because I felt very alone and I didn't have anybody to talk to about it. Well, and here's the thing is like one of the things that my mom would tell me if I ever was like, Mom, this is like not normal, or your behavior isn't normal, or like, I don't think other people's parents are like this or whatever. I think you need to get help or anything. As a child, she would be like, everybody is like this. No one talks about it. And she's like, if you tell anybody, they're going to laugh at you because they're also like this to their kids. And they're going to like laugh in your face because secretly everyone is like this behind closed doors.
No.
And so she's like, no one talks about it, but everyone is like that. And so she's like, it was basically like, yeah, don't tell anybody because they're not going to believe you. And also they are like that also. So it was like this fear tactic where I felt like, am I the crazy one? Maybe everyone is like this and no one will tell me. And then she also was like, her other sort of thing that she used to control me and, my sisters was like, she was always very critical and mean and verbally abusive and sometimes physically abusive.
Wait. Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
She hit you?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Well, she's got a narcissist, like high-level narcissist personality disorders. They have a very big temper. My mom is a very, very, flies off the handle. You have no idea for what or when it will happen. And she sees red and then she forgets like what happened after.
Wow.
And so, yeah, she would have a very, very big temper. But her thing was all of these negative things, like all these negative things I'm telling you about yourself, that's what everyone else is thinking.
Whoa.
And the only reason I'm telling you them and no one else is because I care about you.
Whoa.
And
what would be the negative things?
Like how you're dressed. Everyone is talking about how like slutty you look and how terrible you look. And you like if you go out like that, everyone is going to laugh at you and talk behind your back. And I'm only telling you this because, I care. And so if you can go out there if you want, everyone's going to talk badly about our family and about you.
Whoa.
And so if you want to do that, that's on you. Actually, not even really. She acted like I had a choice, but like I wasn't allowed to leave the house unless she approved of what I look like.
And did you dress slutty?
No, not at all. Like to me, and that was the thing is like I had different rules for what I wore versus my little sisters.
Really?
So
Do you think
like
she was jealous of you because you got a hot bod?
I don't know if I had a hot bod. I definitely was skinny, but like, yeah, I wasn't allowed to wear knee length skirts because she said that it made my legs look too skinny. So, and people would obviously talk badly about our family if I went out like that. And then I wasn't allowed to wear like heels. And one time I wore heels when I was in university, living back at home for the summer. She threw me out of the house because I wore heels and I was shaming our family by wearing them and I'm looking slutty. And so she threw me out of the house. And that was another thing was like in university, but also in high school, I was thrown and middle school. I was thrown out of the house all the time for different things that really made no sense. And we lived in the middle of nowhere and I couldn't even drive, when you're too young to drive. So I couldn't go anywhere. So I just like sit in the fields.
Really?
With cows.
No.
Literally.
So she would be like, get out. Would she be like, get out of the house?
She'd lock all the doors. She would tell my little sisters, like, don't let her in. Yeah.
For wearing heels.
Or I remember one time I was a very disorganized student. And so my mom, I went to, don't judge me, a private school. And so we had to wear black shoes. Obviously, my mom would give me like the ugliest shoes to wear for my uniform, and I would always get made fun of. And so I left my locker open once, and a friend of mine was like, "Hey, your locker was open, so I wore your shoes to my car. Like, I hope that's okay." And I was like, okay. And she was like taller and just like bigger than me in general, and had bigger feet than me. And so she split the back of my shoes wearing them, where I'm like, ew, they were leather. I don't know how
That's really
how
weird.
hard you wore my shoes.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I brought them home, and my mom saw that the backs were split. She lost her mind, started like beating me with the shoe.
No.
And screaming and telling me how much like I've like insulted our family and her for breaking these shoes. And I tried to explain to her, like, it wasn't me. I didn't mean for it to happen. Like, it was this friend, and it didn't matter. And she like kicked me out of the house, locked all of the doors when it was raining. Again, we live in like the middle of nowhere. So then I wasn't old enough to drive, and I don't think this was before I had a cell phone. And so I'm just sitting in this field with cows being like, cool.
What?
And so, and then I tried like hours later to get in the house, and my little sister, who was so little at the time, I think she was probably like 7. And I was like, hey, like, can you let me in? And she was like, Mom told us we're not allowed to let you in. Sorry. And then she just like closed the door and locked it on me. I was like, great.
Oh my God. How long were you out there for?
I have no idea. But I was kicked out of the house all the time. And I just remember being like, what the fuck? I'm literally like treated like I do like
drugs.
Heroin in a crack den on weekends. Yeah. And I was like, I might as well do bad shit if I'm going to get punished all the time anyway. But in the end, I was too afraid to do bad shit. So I ended up just being such a good kid forever, but still always in trouble anyway.
Which I do think, like, still with your personality, you will be like super like, sorry, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, that is a sign of abused kids, is that you apologize all the time. Yeah. And then you add being from Canada and you're just fucked.
Yeah.
But I will say, and sorry, I did forget to mention, I feel like this is important. Until I was in grade 6, I was homeschooled by my mom in rural Alberta. So it was like, you know, you are literally in the middle of nowhere. She is your teacher. Nothing. She's your best friend. She's your, like, you know, everything. And she's abusive, and there's no one you can tell. There's no one you can talk to. And when I tried to, like, everyone kind of just, like, placated me.
Like, who did you try to tell?
I think, like, my friends or my friends' parents. And, you know, everyone's just like, oh, like, your mom's just stressed, or she's just controlling, or whatever. And same, like, I tried to talk to her sisters, and they'd be like, she just has a control problem. And I'm like, y'all can call it whatever you want. It's like, just, it's not healthy.
So you tried to get help.
I tried to get help, but like, and that's the thing is like, I see as like a person in their mid-30s who knows as much as I do now about mental health and just everything now, you know, than I did as a kid. And I'm like, still with my knowledge, people in my family, you know, still don't, you know, believe me or validate my feelings or about her or what I've been through. And so I was just like, you know what? No, like there was nothing I could have done as a kid, because if certain people who could have helped me back then still don't now, like what would I have said back then?
Also, and you're in Alberta and like you've tried. It's also being hit with a shoe, like you're going to have bruises and no one's even saying anything.
Well, I don't know if I had bruises necessarily. It was like the top of my head.
If you didn't have bruises, you weren't actually hit. I need you to stop these lies. You know, booey hoo. You got hit with a shoe.
Like, I swear I have like so much anxiety as an adult from having such an inconsistent parent, which I don't know if you can relate to. That as an adult, I'm really, really trying to do the work to try to like get all of this trauma and anxiety out of my body that I feel like is still stuck there.
Yeah.
And it's so hard. And now I know, like, I didn't know until a couple of years ago that I literally have anxiety all the time because I've had it all the time for so long, living with, under someone like that for so long that, like,
You didn't know you
I
had
had
anxiety.
no idea I had anxiety all the time because I've always had it.
You just thought that's who you, that makes sense.
And it's really caused like health problems for me and serious like stuff. Now that I'm an adult, I'm like, okay, I need to get this shit under wraps. And like, I just feel like, yeah, people don't understand, especially like family members who have like gaslighted me for years, like what this actually does to kids who feel like they have no one and like and can talk to no one. I don't know if this is getting too real for such a comedic podcast.
No, it's not. It's a real podcast.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, it really fascinates me and I love reading about it and I want to know, like, I really love understanding why are people the way they are and what happened to them.
That's it.
From childhood that made them how they are today. And that's so fascinating to me.
That's what I'm trying to do now with this podcast. That's why I'm like, how did your parents fuck you up and what's the result of it now?
Well, and I find so many people are so afraid to go back and uncover this uncomfortable shit.
Yeah.
I think as artists, we are more likely to be open to unearthing it and dealing with it and healing it. But so many people I know are like, yeah, I'm unable to cry and I haven't been able to cry for like 30 years. And you're like, but I'm, I'm fine. I just bury it down and it's worked for me so far. I'm like,
yeah. And you're like, no, there's a reason.
Like,
do you have anxiety with like women liking you, then not liking you, then liking you, then not liking you?
I definitely notice older women who are in a position of authority and very like aggressive or short with people, or you know what I mean, like
yes,
those women that are harder, I really get triggered by them, and or who are just mean, or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But then they're in a position of power where like you have to like have them like you, or you need to still be on their good side or whatever. It's like, oh
like
man,
whether it's
reliving
like,
childhood all over again. I can't deal with those people.
Like it's almost like whether it's an agent in our field, if it's an agent or a casting
or
director,
a teacher, or like in university teachers. Or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
university.
Yeah, university like female professors that are just like hard asses that aren't here for your bullshit.
That was the hardest, where they would like you then not like you, and you would just be like, I let you down, why don't you like me?
And you just want their approval. And
awful.
I've definitely removed myself from some situations where I'm like, I know I'm gonna really try hard to get this person's approval, and it's just not healthy.
No.
And I need to just obviously I need to like get better, so I don't need to do that.
Yeah, I know.
But we're not there yet.
We're not.
So,
I'm not there.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna remove myself.
You're just going to run away from it is what you're saying. You're like, I'm just going to... No, but it's...
Well, I would say those women, in certain instances are probably like toxic people.
Yes.
I'm not talking about like, they're hard asses for a good reason or whatever.
Yeah.
Even those situations though, I'm like, I don't know.
No, I agree. The ones that like kind of flip flop, and you're like, we have one acting coach that we have shared once, and she flip-flop on who she liked, and you could be a favorite and then you're not the favorite. And you're like, why am I not the favorite anymore? So anyways,
a lot of approval seeking.
Yeah. So, okay.
And I think also like, I don't know. I mean, we talk a lot about this in comedy where, there's a lot of females in comedy, and maybe not necessarily in positions of authority. They're like your fellow, what is it, peers?
Yeah.
And I do find it triggering to be like, I hope these like group of women like me.
Yes.
And I want to like,
I'm like a
tough.
baby. I'm like, hi, I'm so nice. And then if I see somebody that is blatantly mean, then I'm like, I'll fucking kill you. Like, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
I have found that like, because my mom's big thing was like, she always told me I was selfish.
Oh.
And like, wanting attention.
I will, for the record, say that you are probably, and I say this behind your back, one of the most generous, selfless people I know.
Well, honestly, I think it's because I work extra hard not to be selfish because I was told that all the time.
Oh my god.
And so I was always trying to prove to my mom how not selfish I was and how like good I was and giving and whatever.
You are, you're
and
so
so I
giving.
do, I mean, it is a little toxic probably for myself, but
It's
I do
your-
try to overdo it maybe. And I think it makes a lot of people uncomfortable.
I know. I think people take advantage of you, and that's
I
where I
don't
try to
know.
protect. No, it's true. It's true. That's where you're like, I gave this to this person, and then they never called me, and I was like, stop giving so many things to people.
You know what though? It was like so entrenched. Like my mom, I mean, this is probably why she hates me, but like even at daycare when I was like 3,
Mm-hmm.
I would take her jewelry and bring it to daycare and give it to people as gifts.
Wait, I used to take Ziploc bags of change and bring it to my daycare to give to all the kids so they'd like me.
Yeah, like you just want, you're like, look at me. Here's my
gift.
offering.
Take it.
Love me.
I can't believe that you did
Mine
it
was gold
too.
jewelry though.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I just didn't get that deep
that's
into
why my
mom's.
mom really hated me.
That's so funny. I was like,
Yeah.
here's all the piggy bank change I used to
Yeah.
saved up for you. That's so funny.
Well,
And then my babies or the daycare woman who had kids said to my mom, like, hey, Nicole keeps bringing us bags of Ziploc bags of change, and like my kids are giving them back to me. Being like, why is she giving us this? Like, they're-
oh yeah, these gold necklaces were gone. They
They were
never
gone?
resurfaced.
that's so funny.
But I will say I have noticed, and I'm really trying hard as an adult, and I just think it's so hard. But like because my mom always told me, you know, she was always like, yeah, you're too selfish. You always want attention. You're always like whatever. I really, in order for people to like me, I think I put down myself a lot and down my accomplishments or down really anything to be like, no, like I'm like you. We're on the same level. I'm not better than you.
Yeah.
I'm not whatever. Like just please like me.
Yeah.
So I do put myself down a lot, which I also think is what comedians do all the time. And that's like my go-to, you know, I don't know, what is it called? A thing I do to like connect with people
Right.
is like self-deprecating humor. And I think it was did you watch what was that female comedian? It came out like I think in 2020 and her name was like Nanette or something.
Oh yeah.
And she talks a lot about how as a comedian she was putting herself down all the time and it really was affecting her mental health because you're just repeating this same like
Yeah.
negative story about yourself in front of people over and over again.
Mhm.
And I do think about that a lot where I'm like,
That
to
is
some extent, I do think comedy is
bad like that.
bad like that. And
Yeah.
also, I do find a lot of comedians don't seek help for their
Right.
mental health.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think that
I don't know.
I think they are more and more, but also seeking help for your mental health is expensive, especially in the States. But
I agree, but I find a lot of them don't even talk about it.
yeah. Okay. Can we go to the stories? Because Claire just got told by her controlling husband that she has to. Claire got told by her controlling husband, who won't take responsibility for the dog,
Yeah.
that she has to go all of a sudden, you know? Like mother, like husband.
Wow.
Wow. It's all really. Okay. So can
SOS.
can we there are 3 stories I need you to tell on this
Oh my God.
podcast,
Okay.
and I'm sure you'll come up with more. I need you to tell the story to give people an idea of what your mom is like about Bahamas with her friends. It's not just you she was controlling too. It was her friend who lost the key. I need you to give the story about your wedding and how you couldn't invite her first and foremost. I think that's like a very interesting story and important for people to hear, where you started to set boundaries because she didn't approve of the person you were marrying
Mm-hmm.
and she tried to break you guys up and she treated him like shit, and then you didn't invite her to the wedding. So could you take us through that?
I feel like we're gonna need a part 2 of this.
We're gonna need a part 2, like no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to like really sum it up, but basically,
No, but we have time.
I think it probably wouldn't have mattered who I was with,
Yes. Okay.
but and I think my little sisters are probably going to have to go through this as well. But as soon as I was dating Scott, who is my now husband, she just immediately hated him. And so
Probably because he was taking you away from
yeah,
her.
of course.
Yeah.
This is a thing that happens with narcissistic parents, where as soon as the child does get a partner, they have less of a controlling grasp on them. And so they immediately make the partner the villain. And then which is what happened with us, they try to get the whole family and friends to turn on this partner to break them up so then they can still have you. And so that's exactly what happened. And so it was so toxic. She was really trying to tear us apart. She was telling him, that I didn't love him.
Wow.
And yeah.
Would she say it behind your back or to his face, like in front of you?
She took him aside. We weren't allowed to we were in a family vacation together with them. She got so mad if we ever tried to go off by ourselves, or if we tried to have dinner by ourselves. She would throw fits and cry and make us. We tried to have this one romantic night together, and she made us me, I guess, feel guilty. And she had a fit and made the whole family come, including her, obviously. She made us pay for dinner for everybody.
No.
And so many fits. And so all started when they went to church one morning on our first family vacation with Scott. And Scott and I don't go to church.
Yeah.
We forget when it's Sunday. It's just another day on vacation.
Yeah.
And everyone was gone. And so we started making breakfast, and they came back from church, and my mom lost her shit and was just you're the fact that he is making breakfast for himself and not all of us shows how selfish he is. I don't want him under my roof.
No.
Get him out of here. She had given him my dead dad's shoes.
What?
As a gift, because I guess they fit him, which was so uncomfortable, but he took them as he didn't know what to do. It was the first time he'd met her, and she gave him these shoes, and he was like, oh fuck. So he brought them on vacation because he didn't know what else to do. He was like, here, look, I'm wearing the shoes. Yeah,
and you're like, no, thank you.
And so after this whole breakfast church fiasco, she was like, give me my dead husband's shoes. Give them back. And so then she made him give him back these shoes. It was so uncomfortable.
Do you have something to say, Scott? You have to say it into the mic if you're going to say something.
Touch.
You're playing hide and seek in here?
Yes, he's playing hide and seek in here.
Get out of here. Okay, go on. I thought he had something to say.
I thought so too.
He's telling us to be quiet so the dog doesn't find him?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe Scott did need attention. Maybe we're right. Okay, get out of here. Maybe your mom was right.
Yeah.
Okay. So then,
anyway, so then, on that trip, it was game over. She already, we weren't allowed to do anything together. It was a nightmare.
Will you talk about when you guys were getting a hotel room?
Yeah, when we were getting a hotel room, we were away, I think in Calgary, and my mom was with us for whatever reason. I think she made herself come. And so we were trying to go do some horse riding excursion, and she started crying that we didn't invite her. And so then we were like, okay, fine, you can, I guess, come. So she comes and doesn't want to go horseback riding. So we're like, okay. And so she's like, hey, I'll go check in at the hotel while you guys are horseback riding. I'll go check into our room. And we're like, okay, yeah. Go check into our rooms. And she's like, no, we're all going to stay in the same one. I'll just get a cot right beside your bed. And she takes our picture as she says this, and both of us are just like,
do you have the picture?
Yeah, I do. And I was like, Mom, you can't sleep in a cot beside our bed. That's so weird. And also, I know you don't have pajamas. You sleep naked.
No.
This is so inappropriate. And she cried and got so upset that like, how could I be uninviting her from sleeping beside us naked? Like, oh, it's just, anyway.
So did she
She's
sleep
crazy.
with you?
No, we
Paid for
like,
her hotel room.
we had to pay for
I
her
remember
hotel
that.
room.
Yeah.
And she didn't talk to us for the rest of the trip because she was so upset that we made her do that.
Oh my. Okay. So
Anyway.
then
then a couple of years later, we were on a family trip again. She was so mean to him. And she said to me, I was like, Mom, we're gonna not be able to hang out with you or travel with you because because you can't be around him. You're not even, she wouldn't let him touch anything. She would be so upset if he touched like a bowl.
No.
Like, it was getting out of hand. And so I was just like, Mom, if you keep acting like this, we can't ever see you. And she's like, honestly, I hate him so much. If you guys ever get married, I can't come to the wedding. I'm not coming. And so I was like, okay. And I think shortly after that, I called her and told her that I had to, for many, many reasons, I was going to have to stop talking to her and not have a relationship with her. And then we got engaged, I think later that year. Everyone was like so upset that I wasn't talking to her. And my sisters like didn't really, I don't know, it really strained our relationship that I wasn't talking to her. And so then eventually I thought, maybe, I guess I didn't at this point know she had narcissistic personality disorder. I kind of was like, if she just gets how mean she is and how awful the things she says and does are, then we can like get through this and get past this. I thought there was like gonna be a turning point. And so I was like, if she just goes to therapy, she'll understand.
Yeah.
Now I know that like they never will understand and they don't go to therapy and there is no getting through to them.
And it's more
so I've kind of like totally let that go now.
Yeah.
But the leading up to my wedding was probably the most stressful point in my life. I lost a ton of weight. I lost hair. Like,
oh my God.
It was so stressful. The whole family was really upset that I said I can't invite her until she goes to therapy and like we kind of resolve this. And it got so crazy that she tried to convince my family that she would go to therapy. It was just that she can't go unless she's with me.
No.
So she tried to tell
that's how she'd get you back in her life.
Yeah. So she was trying to say like, I'm trying to go to therapy, but the therapist won't see me without Claire. And so I went because all my family was like, Claire, why are you preventing her from going to therapy?
Oh my God.
So I went, and then her therapist was like, what the fuck are you doing here?
No.
And I was like, you told me to come. And he's like, I never told you to come. He's like, you can't be here. This is a conflict of interest. And I was like, oh my God. Then my mom came in. She lied to everybody. And then my mom came in. She got embarrassed that she got caught, which I don't know what she was thinking would happen.
Yeah.
And she starts flailing and crying and like having a fit, being like, we're ganging up on her and blah, blah, blah. Then she started saying she was going to threaten to kill herself.
Oh,
and it was so crazy.
God.
And I think I had a wedding dress fitting that day.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is too much. Like, I don't know what to do. And she was just like trying to convince the therapist that I was like the evil one. And he didn't know, he literally couldn't rein her in. He was so frustrated. He was like yelling at her. And eventually he just kicked us both out of his office.
No.
Yes. He could not handle it. And I was like, Mom, I wasn't talking to her at this point, but obviously, I was there. And I was like, Mom, you can't threaten to kill yourself if you don't mean it.
Yeah.
And she was like, why?
No.
And I was like, Mom, because there are women out there who do want to kill themselves. And that is really disrespectful to people that actually feel those feelings when you use it as like a weapon. And she was like, well, but maybe, maybe I do. I don't know. And I was like, oh my God. Like, she's just, they are very childlike.
Right.
And it's hard. I don't know. It's hard to know, like, do they know when they're doing something wrong? Do they not? Like, it's a really confusing thing because reality is not the same to them. So it's really difficult and like a moving target dealing with these people.
Yeah.
And anyway, and so she was threatening to kill herself all the time to get
What she
my
wanted.
attention or my sister's attention and to show like how awful I was. If I didn't respond to an email, she would say she was going to kill herself. Like, it was just really chaotic.
It's like she saw it in a movie and was like, that'll work.
Yeah, I don't know. And yeah, just
And then-
and you know what? Before I even knew what narcissism was, I had already obviously cut her out and said, you know, I wasn't talking to her, going to see her. And then when I found out what she had and I started reading about it, the number one thing they say to do with parents like that is cutting them off.
Which is
no
so
contact.
hard. Damn.
And so I was like, oh, I actually knew that I had to do it without like
Reading
that.
about it.
What honestly, people are like, sometimes I run into people and they know or whatever, and they'll be like, oh my God, how could you not talk to your mom? Or like, how could you cut your mother out of your life? And I truly feel like for some people, it's not a decision. You know what I mean? It's not a choice. It's a thing that has to be done
To survive.
I feel like I don't have a choice to
Right.
not have a relationship with my mom because she has left me no choice.
Well, even when
There are no boundaries with people like her. So the only boundary that you can have, because they don't respect them,
yeah.
is completely not involving with them.
But even when you tried, like, even after that, so we won't have enough time to get into everything, but to like cap this off, even you had your wedding, you didn't invite her, you were scared she was going to show up.
Well, actually, when I told her that she couldn't come, her literal response to me was, okay, I'm only coming if I am in a place of honor. I must be sat at the front. I must walk down the aisle. I must be sat in a chair of honor, and I must have a speech about me and an acknowledgement. And I was like, no, Mom, I just said that I'm not inviting you. And she couldn't even hear that. She was like, okay, yes. And I will be honored. And it was like, yeah, they're,
oh my God. But,
yeah.
and then you had your wedding, and then even after that, as you're saying, you cut her off. Like, Claire hasn't cut her off. There was times where you still gave in, like when your mom wanted to throw you an after wedding party, and then you showed up, or like she wanted to, and she was in the gold suit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
uncomfortable.
So Claire, I mean, you can tell it.
My mom is so uncomfortable. Well, okay, and then we'll wrap it up. But
yeah.
like my husband
because I'm just showing you examples. Like Claire, you didn't like cut her off. Like,
I've tried, but
you get weaseled back in.
Well, by my sisters because it's important. It was important for them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the only reason why I want to finish it off is because you cut her off from the wedding, then you gave back to your sisters. I think it's a great story. And then you know, you're gonna have to tell it 'cause we brought it up really quick.
Well, okay, I feel like one that's similar is like when I wasn't talking to her. I think this was before we were married. Scott, it was a Sunday, and Scott and I were sleeping in our beds, and all of a sudden we hear someone in our house.
No.
And we had been broken into before, so like we were so scared. And we like jut out of bed. Scott grabs like a baseball bat and he's like ready to like pummel someone because we're like, someone is walking down on our main floor. We don't know what the hell is happening. And so I'm like, you go ahead, you go first with the baseball bat. He comes down and my mom is sitting in our kitchen in a fur coat, just like waiting for us, like we've planned her to be there. Meanwhile,
What?
I'm not talking to her. We don't talk to her, but she has just come into our house without telling us. Just crazy. And it turns out we accidentally left the front door open, which is really our bad.
Yeah.
And so she came and was just talking to
like
Scott.
Like
everything was fine. And then she tried to come upstairs. And I'm like, please leave. Like, what are you doing? And she came to like hug me.
No.
But like, I don't know, it was so uncomfortable. And I guess that's the thing about narcissistic parents is like, that's hard to describe to people who do have like normal, I mean, I guess no one's normal, but like loving parents with empathy.
Yeah.
The main thing about narcissistic parents is they don't have empathy, is that like they don't miss you because they don't know you, because they've never known you or loved you or actually had empathy for you.
They love that you love them.
They want you to love them, but they also use you as a weapon. And so her whole thing of control was like, I miss you, I need you, whatever. So she came over to hug me, but it's like, I don't know, it was very like boundary. I don't know. Like,
she wasn't
she's
hugging you to comfort you in a motherly way. She was hugging you because she's like, this
violating
is what
a boundary. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
But it was so uncomfortable, and it was so like not reciprocated, and she wasn't reading the situation and having a conversation or apologizing or wanting to talk through anything. It's just always on their terms and not acknowledging any hurt they've caused or anything wrong. And so I guess my advice to anyone who has a parent like this is really, I mean, it's obviously easier if all your siblings are on the same page.
Yeah.
For me, it's really hard because we're not.
Yeah.
And I think most people I know who do have narcissistic parents are still in contact with them every day. You know, they have such a tight hold on their children. And the best thing to do is to like remove yourself as much as possible, because it's almost like Stockholm syndrome, where even though they don't ever give you any sort of parental love, you feel, because you've been taught that way for so long, to be protective of them and do what they say and obedient and whatever, exactly like Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, don't upset them, and as long as they're still around, and if they're crying, it's because of you, so then you got to keep them from not crying.
Yeah, you are. But my sisters are so protective. So many people are so protective of her when she is not that towards them.
Yes.
You know, not loving, not any of that.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I don't really know how we're ending this, but
we're going to do another one.
There's
more stories.
I find it really fascinating, these types of people, because they have no empathy, and it's super interesting, but also really sad when they have children and raise them. And I don't know.
I mean, the fact that you've cut her off is absolutely like mind blowing, just because to have the strength.
And I think
really
also
hard.
that is why I have always had a sense of humor, is because you have to almost in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, can you give your information and then people can come to you for advice? Just joking. But you want to plug your...
My address is... I'm on Instagram at I am Claire Cavalheiro, and message me there. Yeah. I definitely love talking about parents and narcissism. Yeah, we're gonna do
more while I'm in town. Yeah. This flew by.
I know.
If we weren't interrupted so many times by your narcissistic, just joking, Scott's the best. But thank you for sharing that. But
Thanks for having me.
Do you want to do another one? Okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because we could talk about this for days.
I love you.
Okay, I love you.
I love you.
I
love you, and I hope that's I'm giving you what you never had in childhood.
Bye.
Bye.